Hello, I'm glad you could join me today. In this video, I will show you a quick and simple way to create a Hello World program using the C programming language. The software I'm going to be using is the CLion IDE. It's made by the same developers that produced IntelliJ. But it is not free software. However, there is a 30-day free trial, and if you are enrolled in an academic institution, you can try all of the software pieces for at least a year for free. Also, I will have some free alternatives in the description below. However, for this video, I'm going to assume that you're using CLion or something similar to CLion. So let's get right into it and create a new project. Now, CLion does also support numerous other languages, amongst them Swift, which is optional and which I installed, as well as C++. However, since we're only working with C for now, please choose C executable, and I'm going with C99 since it is the newest standard, and let's create a new project. Now, CLion is going to do some magic now, and there will also be some finished code here which we are going to delete, since it's actually the code we were trying to write. And let's begin with our code. Now, first of all, unlike any of the programming languages that we've dealt with in previous videos, there is no standard input-output in the C language. So unlike in Java or in Python, for example, we can't just write a printf function and it would work because it's not in the language in itself. We have to import that functionality, and we do it like this. Hashtag import, and then we're going to use some angular brackets, and inside these angular brackets we're going to write stdio.h. Now this line here is called a precursor statement or a precursor command, and what it does is it imports the stdio.h file. Now stdio.h is the standard input-output header file. So this process is pretty much similar to the act of importing a package in Java. Now that we've imported that functionality, we can actually go on and create a main function, since in C, all the main functionality has to be included within a main function. Also, this main function needs to return a value, and that value needs to be an integer. This integer is also called an exit code. And let's just choose 0 as the exit code, since it doesn't really matter. I'll talk a bit more about that later. But now, let's get into the main functionality. Let's do what we actually wanted to do. Let's print hello world. To do that, there is the printf function. Printf stands for print formatted, and inside this printf method, we can just insert a string literal. How about hello world? Like this. Also, in C, just like in Java, you will also have to include semicolons. In general, I have to add that Java's syntax is inspired by C's syntax, so a lot of syntax elements will look very familiar to you, like the semicolons at the end of every statement, as well as the round brackets for the parentheses for parameters. We don't need any parameters for the main function, as well as the curly brackets to include numerous lines of code commands. Now, however, you can see that the IDE isn't giving us any trouble or fuss, so that means if we compile and run our code, it should work just fine. And yes, it does. Sweet. As you can see here, this is the output, hello world, and the compiler or the console also says process finished with exit code 0. And that just means that this is the exit code that was returned by the main function. Now, since we only have a hello world program, it doesn't really matter. But if you have a huge program with several command structures, for example, you might want to include several of these return statements with numerous integers, for example, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And depending on what specific part of your code would be executed, you will get a different exit code here, for example. So if you run this again, you will see that the exit code here is 1 now, not 0, because we defined 1. And that's pretty much it. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. Feel free to also play around with this code, change the input, maybe see if an integer would also work, or maybe if you could put something else in here, how high the numbers could go. Generally, you cannot really break the code because the IDE will always warn you if you're doing something illegal. So yeah, I encourage you to play around and tinker around with it. I hope I will see you on my next episode on Yatta. But for today, that's it from me. I wish you happy coding. Goodbye.